Another big fight we got coming up is also Max Holloway versus Calvin Kattar.
which is the closest UFC.
Yeah, it's the first
It's
UFC
been
of the
weird.
year.
It's been weird because the last UFC fight was a week ago, and we have to wait another 2 weeks until the UFC comes back to us. I don't like it. I don't.
Yeah, but then we got like the space of 11 days of three of the biggest fights ever.
Well, yeah, Max Holloway versus Calvin Kattar.
But Khamzat Chimaev isn't official anymore, is it?
That's been cancelled.
That's been cancelled.
And then we've got Conor McGregor versus
Poirier. Yeah.
which apparently is going to be co-main evented by Michael Chandler versus Dan Hooker. So we have some bells of fights up. I just don't like waiting. I'm a very impatient person. I don't like it. Yeah, but I'm very keen to see Max Holloway versus Calvin Kattar. What are your thoughts?
Well, Max Holloway wants to get his belt back. There's no for sure of that. By the way, UFC channel has been putting out some killer content lately. Killer content. And they had, They had John Atkin and Michael Bisping and Daniel Cormier and Matt Serra all get together and review 2020 in 1A.
I saw it was about 45 minutes long. It was a good show.
Oh, it was great. I loved it. I mean, not even that, but some of the other stuff they've been putting out lately. And they talked about what was the biggest upset, and one of them, which they talked about, was the Max Holloway versus Alexander Volkanovski fight. They said they thought it was no, it wasn't an upset. It was a robbery. They thought it was one of the biggest robberies because, we can agree, regardless of what you think, it was a razor-thin fight. And
I honestly think that was one of the closest fights ever I've watched.
Yeah. I thought I would have been satisfied with a draw.
I think there is a place for... I think there's a place for 10-10 rounds and there's a place for draws.
Yeah.
And I believe that would have been satisfactory, calling it a draw.
Mm-hmm.
Go for the treble, go for the trilogy, and that would have been brilliant to watch.
Mm-hmm.
To Alexander Volkanovski versus Max Holloway 3, I think that's going to happen one day.
Yeah. I honestly do. And I feel like, but though Calvin Kattar is a phenomenal fighter and he's what's standing in his way. So what Max needs to do, he needs to resurge himself. He needs to beat Calvin. But if Calvin wants to make it to the title, he's got to take out the veteran. The dude's not even 30 yet, and he's fought some of the biggest names in the UFC. Volkanovski, he's fought McGregor, he's fought Aldo twice, beat him twice. You know what I mean?
Fought Dustin.
He's not even 30 yet. He's not even in his prime. And he still keeps beating some of the biggest names. He's got records for most strikes thrown in a single fight, which was against Ortega.
I believe Holloway came into the UFC around 21, 22 years old. And I do believe his debut was against Conor McGregor because that fight was supposed to be a different opponent. However, Max Holloway got slid in because that other opponent fell out.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he's definitely one of the OGs in the featherweight division. He's definitely in the conversation of either number 1, number 2, or number 3 top featherweight fighters ever in the UFC.
Yeah.
So it's difficult. I expect this to be a real grudge match. I think this is going to be a 5-round war, and it's just whoever wants it more. I think Calvin Kattar is definitely underrated. He's got one of the best boxers, certainly in the featherweight division. Max Holloway is looking better and better. Turned a new leaf against Volkanovski for the second time because that first match was not comparable to the first match.
No.
I don't know who I take in that. It's very difficult. I don't know who I take in that. I think it's too hard.
Do you want to know something interesting?
What?
Max Holloway for the second fight didn't do any sparring.
He couldn't.
Yeah, he just did all over Zoom. Did a lot of training over Zoom.
That's what he said.
Yeah.
That's what he said.
Yeah. But do you agree?
I think he probably did minimal sparring, but I don't think he did zero.
One other thing I thought was interesting was when he did the podcast with Joe Rogan, he was saying, he actually learnt some fighting moves from a UFC game.
He's just a funny guy. Max Holloway is beloved by everyone, to be honest.
Yeah. And he's just on his way back. But the thing is, even if he... What's the best way I can say? I still feel like Max Holloway's best is yet to come.
I think so, just because he's so young yet so experienced in one of the greatest organizations in MMA.
Yeah.
So
he's blessed. That's what I can say.
Yeah.
He really is blessed.
Yeah.
Yeah.